Okay, Strixhaven. We're here. We're in we're in the Hogwarts of the multiverse, I suppose, and we're gonna
There's
learn.
no denying it.
Right, there's simply no denying it. So let's stop beating around the bush here. But let's get into it and let's talk about some of the new mechanics. Is that where we're starting?
Yeah, we'll start with the new mechanics. We do it this way because a lot of the commanders will end up using them. So we'll get them up out of the way up front. And also, we're going to tell you if any of these mechanics seem like they would be fun to brew around like a whole deck using other cards from, that we've always had access to. And I'm going to start with one that is now evergreen. They've made an official new evergreen. It's called Ward. Any creature can have Ward. And it just means if you want to target this creature with something, with a spell or an ability, you have to. I should look up if it's spell or ability, or just or not both. But nonetheless, you have to pay more to do it. It's like, think of Frost Titan, the old Frost Titan ability. That's called Ward now. And on blue and green things, blue and red things, the extra cost will involve paying life or taking damage. We've also already seen similar things on some red cards recently. I know Bone Crusher Giant, if you target it, you take 2 damage. That's sort of that would be Ward 2 damage if it was printed today. And if it's a white, a blue, or green card, that's probably, I believe it's always just going to be extra mana. I mean, obviously they can do other things with it, but that's what it tends to be. Can't brew around it. That's just kind of a thing that cards have.
So, do you think that this is going to be an attempt to fully replace hexproof?
I think so, and I also hope so. Like, I do think the game is better without absolutely you can never do anything about this effects. I don't mind a one-shot instant hexproof effect because that's sort of like a counterplay, like you zig, I zag. But to just have a creature that's just like, you can just never touch this. Sorry.
What do you feel? I mean, how do you feel about this in Commander when we have access to a lot of, full-on hexproof and shroud stuff?
Yeah. I mean, I always prefer, I think Commander is better when we don't have hexproof or shroud going on. Right, because it just creates this sort of metagame where, like, if everyone's running Greaves and Boots,
which everyone is,
everyone is, because I want to cast my commander and I don't want anyone to have to be able to remove it with a removal spell. I know you have a window to do so, but if you can't, now the only option is like, well, then it forces the meta to just run lots more Wraths. Because it's like, well, I can't expect to ever target your commander to get it off the board. So the only way then is to just destroy the whole board at a time. And I also think that a meta with fewer board wipes is more fun to play in and is a bit healthier. I like that there can always be back and forth.
Yeah. I'll say I don't know if it's good or bad, but I've definitely noticed that hexproof it doesn't always get you where you want to be, right? Like, I've noticed that, like, the boots and stuff like that, they just get blown up a lot,
Sure.
But to what you said, like, that means we're running more, pointed artifact destruction and stuff like that, which of course is good. But these are like, I get what you're saying. It's like more fun when we can just include the good synergies and stuff like that, and not worry too much about being like the police of hexproof, right?
Like, it's almost like if you just look at the economy of a game, right? There's 4 decks at the table. And if they've each got a pair of boots and a pair of greaves, and they've each got a couple artifact removal spells, we can just cancel them out. Let's just come to the table without all those artifact removal spells and without all those boots and greaves, and we're at 0. If we do it the traditional way, we're just kind of banking on, like, well, who got theirs before other people got theirs? It just becomes a weird kind of who can get theirs going first kind of business.
Well, I think a lot of people in other formats certainly also are not the biggest fans of hexproof, so I think Ward will be nice to have in standard and stuff like that in draft. So I think it's at the very least good for that, and I think I just have a feeling Commanders, it's just not going to be good enough for Commander because of what we already have, and that's just the weirdness of having the eternal card pool that we have. New mechanics that fix things don't fix it for us, So
right.
that's why, like, this is a side note, and this is the last thing I'll say about it, but that's why like it bugs me when they reprint stuff that takes away hexproof but not shroud.
Yes.
It's like,
yes.
if the point is to do this, you must have it remove shroud for Commander as well. Like you just have to. Yeah. Anyways, okay, moving on. Let's take a look at the next new mechanic, which honestly we're gonna say like nothing about because it isn't relevant for Commander because it's lessons and learning. It uses a sideboard. We don't have a sideboard in Commander. If you want to discuss being able to use lessons and stuff like that, it's the same thing as a wish board. You have to rule 0 with your friends, your meta or whatever. And if they're cool with it, they're cool with it. Great. But honestly, there isn't much to say about it. It's just kind of like a wish board. So it's really not new outside of the way that it gets them, I guess. I don't know. It's not even.
And to tie it to our last conversation about like having access to all the cards, there isn't any lessons you would want to get from your wish board that are just better than cards you already have tons of access to. Like this is not like, oh great, you made a token.
Yeah, exactly. Like they're all just basic kind of evergreen stuff that we've seen printed in better ways and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah,
you can make a deck, but you have to rule 0 it, like we said.
But what's this next one? This next one seems interesting.
Oh, well, if you watched our episode last week on Extus, you probably noted that character has something called Magecraft. And Magecraft is a very cool new ability. It works that basically whenever you cast or copy a instant or sorcery spell, it'll have some kind of a triggered ability. Like, for example, Archmage Emeritus has a Magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, draw a card. Pretty sweet. Pretty good.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of different stuff like this. They really went to town with Magecraft. And we've already like I said in the Exodus episode, we've already identified an infinite combo with any Magecraft creature, essentially, with what's it called? Fury Storm? Is that what it's called? Yeah.
Fury Storm. Yeah.
Where it can copy itself. Yeah.
Because previous spell triggers didn't count copies. Copies are not cast by the rules, but Magecraft specifically does count copies. So it is very easy to get infinite copies using those red fork types of spells. So some of the effects that some of the cards have, how do you want to do your combo? Do you want to make treasures, draw cards, put lands from the top of your deck into play? Do you want to make tokens, have each opponent lose life while you gain life? Millions of different tools to attach to your Magecraft, however you would like to do things.
Very, very cool stuff. And I think we're going to be seeing it a lot in Commander. This to me seems like the one that's just going to, we're going to see broken things happening with this, ability, as we kind of did again in our Exodus episode. Check it out. It's really good. All right. Well, that covers the new mechanics that we're going to see. Let's start talking about these legendaries.
Ooh, first legendary, the only mono legendary from the regular booster packs. This is mono white Mavinda, Student's Advocate, very cute owl, 2 and a white legendary bird advisor, 2/3 with flying. And you've got an activated ability for 0. You may cast target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard this turn. If that spell doesn't target a creature you control, it costs 8 more to cast this way. If that spell would be put into your graveyard, exile it instead. Activate only once each turn. So the positives are that you can do this each turn and cast instants. Well, you can only do instants from your graveyard on other people's turns, but you can do an instant on everybody's turn, sorceries on your own turn, and as long as they target one of your creatures, they don't cost anymore.
Right.
If you want to get that Wrath again, it costs you an extra 8.
Yeah, interesting, right? Holy. I wonder if there's a way to somehow get around that 8. But I like Mavinda. This is a cool little way to get some flashback for a I don't know what, like a cow. Like what kind of spells are we casting here? Auras? No, it's only instants or sorceries, right? So it's like
only instants or sorceries. But we have all those protection, those indestructibles, those you could probably suit up a decent what am I trying to say? A Voltron kind of thing with all those protection from colors,
putting some counters on stuff
Indestructibles.
seems like it would be good.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Yeah. All right. I also like that we finally have some real scale for, like, the bird isn't the scale thing here. The human, we have a
Yes.
a scale human here to
Scale
show us how
human.
big the bird is. Because if you look back at a bunch of old Magic, like, bird creatures, it's like, okay, I assume that these birds are, you know, people sized because they're fighting with people and they're like the sizes of them. But like a lot of the art, it's just the birds. So they could just be little birds that are like little bird soldiers. We don't know. Okay. Very cool though. Next we have Mila. Yeah, Mila, crafty companions. It's a little. Oh, it's a fox. Looks like a dog. 1 white, legendary fox. It's a 2/3. Whenever an opponent attacks one or more planeswalkers you control, put a loyalty counter on each planeswalker you control. And then whenever a permanent you control becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, you can draw a card. Okay, so like pretty obviously like leaning towards having a bunch of planeswalkers. But here's the thing, Luca's got a backside and it's a different color. It's red. And it's a planeswalker. It's Luca. I literally just learned this like right before we started recording. I didn't see that it had a backside. If you want to cast the Luca side, it's Luca Wayward Bonder. It's 4 red, legendary planeswalker, 5 loyalty, +1. You may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. If a creature card was discarded this way, you draw 2 cards instead, which is cool. Nice. That's a nice way to fill your graveyard while drawing. Like, kind of reminds me of Duretti. Like that's a nice ability. Putting stuff you want in the graveyard and drawing 2. -2 is return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains haste, and you exile it. And at the end of the next next upkeep. Okay, cool.
Your next upkeep.
Yeah, so you get it for like a full turn of the table. That's nice.
Yeah.
And then -7, the ultimate here is you get an emblem with whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, it deals damage equal to its power to any target. So we get a
Warstorm Surge.
That's right, a Warstorm Surge. So I mean, 7 as the ult. That's 3 activations away essentially. Not terrible. I mean, there's a lot of there's definitely like a creature build with the planeswalker side. There's more of a planeswalker angle to the creature side. It's kind of they kind of seem to be like fighting each other a little bit.
They do. You'd want to have them both together so that like when people attack you, you add a loyalty on each of your planeswalkers. But I think this is a strong contender for a Boros Super Friends deck. Maybe you want to do Mila most of the time and just have all your other planeswalkers upped. And this is probably one of the best ways that white seems to be able to like want extra card draw. When they target your stuff, you draw a card.
Yeah.
I think we're probably going to want to lean on the front side the most with a whole bevy of Planeswalker Super Friends coming up behind. But I can imagine, if I can get Luca out and protect him, like I'm going to try for that ultimate. That seems pretty good.
It's a lot of work to just get Warstorm Surge though, right? But like I know Warstorm Surge is really good, but it's a lot of work to get a card that we have kind of several versions of also. Like
it's true.
There's a lot of like Warstorm Surge-esque cards that already exist that we can just cast.
I mean, it's another Planeswalker in the command zone too. That's
definitely,
cool.
Yeah. I like it, and like you said, a Boros Super Friends deck is a cool angle on Boros. A lot of like a Johnny's and like Chandra's working together somehow. A lot of elementals with counters on them, maybe. I don't know.
And we've also got like Nihiris that use equipment and like some first striking stuff. Elspeths for tokens. Like they're even within Boros Super Friends, you got a couple of angles.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, that's neat.
Okay, next up is another MDFC. So on the front, you got white, 1 and a white for Shale, Dean of Radiance. Bird Cleric, 1/1, Flying Vigilance. Tap, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature that entered the battlefield under your control this turn. Okay, so right away we're pointing towards tokens. If I can get a bunch of tokens in, I can put a +1/+1 on all of them. Okay, but that's the front. On the back, it's 2 black, so this is an Orzhov commander. We got Ambrose, Dean of Shadow, 2 black. I think it's interesting that each side of the card is a totally different character. I need to process that. I don't know how I feel about one card being 2 different beings.
Anyway. That's weird. It doesn't really fit with what we've seen from flip cards and even previous MDFCs, like from Call Time even, right?
Yeah, like the card is the card.
Like, how do the Call Time gods work? Are they also like the Odin one is the Raven too, right? Like he's both things.
Yeah. So that one's easily explained, but there's like one that's Raiden is also a shield.
Yeah.
But I like to imagine that like the shield, like it is like Raiden is like has possessed this shield.
Yeah, like Toral's hammer is a part of him.
Yeah, I believe they're the same.
Yeah,
but
okay.
Embrose is definitely not the same as Shale. They are two completely different individuals.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's what Embrose does. Legendary Human Warlock, 4/4, costs you 4 CMC or mana value to get out there. Tap. Put a +1/+1 counter on another target creature. Then Embrose deals 2 damage to that creature. When a creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it dies, draw a card. So it's a little bit skull clampy, right? So I think the intention is if you have a 1/1 token, Embrose can put a counter on it and then deal 2 to it. That's not a may. You have to deal 2 to it. So then you will kill your own 1/1, which is now a 2/2 with a counter on it, and you will draw a card. So it's a little bit of a draw engine if you've got effects. You can't kill 2 toughness things, though, on your opponent's side. You can only kill 1 toughness things, which kind of means you have to draw with it. And in that case, I don't know. How many tokens do you want?
I think it's pretty good. Yeah, I as like something in your command zone that can draw you some cards. I think you got to build tokens with it, though. You just kind of have to.
Yeah.
Or I suppose you could do a +1/+1 counter theme, but then the Embrose part of it just doesn't get that good. Although, for sacrificing things,
that
kind of doesn't matter.
You don't actually, if you're
the static ability is good, right?
Yeah, I neglected to think of it as a static.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, there's a little more flexibility there then.
Okay.
Pretty good. Next is Jazzy Oracle of Arcavios. 6 blue, so 8 mana for the legendary human wizard. 5/5. It says discard a card, return Jazzy to its owner's hand. Oh, okay. Here comes 8 more mana. But
at least it won't be 10 though. You're saving.
That's true. But it also has Magecraft, and it says whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, that Magecraft text, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a non-land card, you may cast it by paying one generic rather than paying its mana cost. If it's a land card, put it onto the battlefield. So this is great. This is an excellent card, right?
Yeah.
Protect Jadzi really easily by discarding a card. The Magecraft ability is really cool. It's really good. But this mana cost of 8 is so much to pay. But this is a Simic commander. So on the back, we actually have a sorcery. And it's 2 green for the sorcery Journey to the Oracle. And it says, you may put any number of land cards from your hand onto the battlefield. Then if you control 8 or more lands, you may discard a card. If you do, return Journey to the Oracle to its owner's hand. So it's it has buyback, kind of.
Yeah, buyback, discard a card as long as you have 8 or more lands. But if you're dumping a handful of lands, you probably have it. Yeah,
probably.
Put any number of land cards from your hand onto the battlefield. Cool. I'm going to pay 4. So once I get to 4 mana,
you hit some big draw spell, and then next turn you pay, right?
You pay 4.
Because you're going to want to load up your hand.
Totally. So then you pay the 4, you dump a ton of cards, ton of lands, maybe get a couple landfall triggers, who knows? A little Lotus Cobra having fun alongside there. Yeah. It doesn't say tapped or untapped. They come in however they want to come in.
True.
And then this comes back to your hand. So your commander's now in your hand. And since we can discard cards to return the front and the back just comes back to our hand whenever we want, this never has to go to the command zone again, pretty much.
Yeah. This is it feels like we've got a weird fast bond almost on the back, kind of just really breaking the land thing, and then we've got this massive 8 mana, but together they make sense, and it feels like it's you do have to combine this with a lot of draw, and then you still have to have cards after you dump all the lands because you want to try and do this Magecraft thing, right? So it's
after you cast,
yeah,
right.
Like otherwise,
and then Jazzy asks, like, being able to cast non-lands for one.
yeah,
I would be inclined to put in big CMC spells.
Of course.
So
yeah. I like this commander a lot. This is a very cool commander. This commander has like not built in necessarily, but gives you such a highway to ramping like crazy.
This is the play. I put it together. You play Jadzi up front, and then you have to survive a cycle around the table so that your 8 mana untaps. Then you hope to swing into just play a little tiny spell and hope to hit like a big draw spell from there, like a hard cast draw 4, or like draw the number of cards that are in everybody's hands, or even a wheel to just get a lot in your hand. Then you discard 1 to return it to your hand. You haven't spent any mana. You spent the 1 or the 2 to trigger it. Now you've got the backside in your hand. You just dump all those lands, return it to your hand, and you're ready to go again.
Jazzy and Enter the Infinite. Like, if you hit Enter the Infinite, you draw your whole deck. You play
all the lands.
You play all the lands from your deck, and then you're just free to do whatever. I mean, Enter the Infinite's broken with lots of cards, but
do you discard with Enter the Infinite at the end, or do you have
it gives you 1 turn to hold on to the cards?
Because I almost want to discard them and then just shuffle them back into my deck.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can. Let me see. I'll just double quick check.
That sounds broken. I'll just close this tab that says who won the Super Bowl in 1991.
Yeah, better. Yeah, throw that away. Is it San Francisco Giants?
New York Giants.
Sorry, San Francisco Giants. San Francisco 49ers. San Francisco Giants are a baseball team. Anyways, it was the New York Giants because they beat the Bills. That's right. That's what I meant to say. Okay. Anyways, little sidebar there. But I love Jadzi. I love this is like speaking to my ramp simic brain, and I think it's really fantastic.
Yeah.
The ceiling is non-existent with this card.
It really plays into like what commander players want to do, and that's just do huge things.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, what's next?
Next is it's an Is It Commander, blue on the front, red on the back. 2 different people. Once again, we've got
2 different people. Wall of text.
Right. 2 in a blue for Uvilda, Dean of Perfection. 2/2 legendary Djinn Wizard. Tap. You may exile an instant or sorcery card from your hand and put 3 hone counters on it.
Okay.
It gains at the beginning of your upkeep. If this card is exiled, remove a hone counter from it. And when the last hone counter is removed, if it's exiled, you may cast it. It costs 4 generic less to cast this way. So kind of like Joyra, what original Joyra used to do, but not nearly as good because you still have to. You get a big discount, but you pay for it in time.
Yeah, so it is basically suspend, but it's not as good.
Suspend 3.
Suspend, but you also have to pay 4 when it comes
instead
out.
Of free.
When you want it to come out, right?
And also this only works on instants and sorceries.
Right.
So it doesn't matter. But suspend also gives creatures haste. Don't forget that.
Right. True.
Not that you can do creatures. So on the other side, so these you have access to both of these in the commands on here. We've got Nasari, Dean of Expression. Quick look at the art. Can't find their head or their face.
Wait,
Not
there
really
they are,
sure.
right there. Can't see it.
Don't see it.
She's like going back like this with her arms up in the air.
Oh my god, yes, okay. I thought, her arm that's in the air?
Yeah.
I thought that was a triangle head or neck, and I was looking for a face in that fireball up top. I was just like, is that a face? Okay. Totally see it now. Can't unsee. So for 3 red, you get a 4/4 Ifrit Shaman. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of each opponent's library. Until the end of turn, you may cast spells from among those exiled cards, and you may spend mana as though or mana of any color. Whenever you cast a spell from exile, put a +1/+1 counter on Nasari, Dean of Expression. What is that called? I forget that enchantment. Every upkeep, you get access to more of your opponent's cards, and you can cast whatever mana you want on them. That's fun. I like that ability.
Mind's Dilation? Kind of?
Mind Stellation. No.
No, that's when they play and you just get it for free.
Yeah, no, there's a red enchantment. I think it was from Battle Bond that just on every upkeep,
Yes.
you do this.
Yeah, I forget what that's called too. But this is fun. Yeah, this is cool. I mean, I think it's the understatement of the year to have on the bottom of Nasari, there is a little arrow that says wizard. And then you flip it around, and then it's just this massive wall of text for this wizard. It's no simple wizard.
Yeah.
So correct me if I'm wrong. Can we... No, okay. This is when the last hone counter is removed. I was thinking, can we cast things that we've like from Nasari's side with Uvilda, but no, they're just two separate things happening there. But however, if we have exile something with Uvilda, and then in the meantime we've switched it over to Nasari, and we cast one of that spell from exile, that will count towards the plus one counter stuff, right?
Yeah.
Right on. Okay. Well, that's a neat little interaction, I suppose. It's like so complicated, the wording on these cards, that it's like I'm kind of like it's almost like the payoff of the cards themselves isn't good enough for how much I had to read to get there. But
yes.
But I think I like Nasari way better than the others than Uvilda here.
Agreed. I would be happy to have a red-blue deck, but have this red enchantment in the command zone.
Yeah. Yeah. Good call.
We're just going to take a second to handle a little bit of business. And the main point is, thanks for watching. If you want to see more of our comedic takes and offbeat decks, consider subscribing to our channel and hitting that bell to make sure you don't miss anything. And if you're loving our stuff and want to support further, the best way is to head over to patreon.com/commandersbrew. Find out how our generous patrons keep our show growing and how you can get in on the brewing action too through our Discord. Or, if you'd rather, just hang out and play some games with like-minded Commander players. Now, let's get back to those moves. Okay.
The actual next thing is Valentine, Dean of the Vein. Single black for legendary vampire warlock. It's a 1/1 with menace and lifelink. And it says, if a non-token creature an opponent controls would die, exile it instead. When you do, you may pay 2 generic. If you do, create a 1/1 black and green pest creature token with, when this creature dies, you gain a life. So
I am already feeling fatigued at the amount of like thinking and wording.
Yeah.
It's like, if a creature dies, you may do this. If you do, you pay 1. When you pay, you may do this.
like, did we really need the whole pay 2 thing for this? Like, why can't we just, when their creatures die, we just get a pest? Or like, you know what I mean? Like, why am I paying 2? Maybe pay 1. Are they that good? I don't know. I don't know if
I don't know.
I mean, maybe for draft or something they need to, but for Commander, it's a little like, I gotta pay 2 every time I want one of these things. Anyways, it's green on the other side, and it's Lisette, Dean of the Root. 2 green, human druid, 4/4. Whenever you gain life, you may pay 1. Well, I gotta pay. Here I am paying more. If you do, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control, and those creatures gain trample until end of turn. So that's
good. That's
good. I'll pay 1 for that.
I don't want to pay 2 for a 1/1 pest.
Yeah, no, of course
but I'll
not.
pay 1 for a counter on my whole team.
Fair.
And trample.
Fair. So I like Lisette quite a bit. It's a little tiny overrun, but it's very good. Even just +1/+1 counters on each of your creatures is like pretty sweet. Then also giving them trample, that's really good. And like I said, Valentine is just kind of annoying to me because I'm having to pay that mana. But I mean, it kind of makes it worth it, especially if you drop this little guy and then this is kind of what you're putting your mana into for a few turns as your opponent's creatures die. And then, you drop a Lisette, you pay the 1. When one of those things dies, and you're off to the races. So I kind of like this pairing.
A lot of these cards want to be on the battlefield together, though.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yes.
The front side makes the pest, which is how you're going to do life gain most easily, and then Lisette takes advantage. But unfortunately, these cards cannot be on the battlefield at the same time. This is only one card. You can't have another.
Yeah, I mean, like Valentine first, then Lisette. If you have to do anything, obviously. So
yeah,
like it does work out that way. I like the idea that we kind of the this Golgari thing of like lifelink is what's bonding green and black in this set. I like that. It's always black and white that's using the lifelink, but yeah, green and black makes sense for it as well.
All right, next up, red black. So on the front we've got red Plarg, Dean of Chaos. 1 in a red, legendary orc shaman, 2/2. Tap to discard a card and draw a card. Rummage, classic. There's another ability, 4 in a red, tap, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a non-legendary non-land card with mana value 3 or less. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost. Put all revealed cards not cast this way on the bottom of your library in a random order. So you have to pay 5 to do it, and you'll never get anything better than 3. It'll always be 3 or less. You're always guaranteed to hit something, but you're going to lose 2 or more mana on the deal, but you didn't have to like have a card in your hand or draw it. Like that's kind of a bonus. Okay, that's just what it is. And on the other side, you get Augusta, Dean of Order. I'm sorry, I said black red. This is white red. The little tag on the bottom looked dark in color.
Yeah, it does. I also thought it was black red. That's kind of.
This is white red. I'm sorry. So the reverse is Augusta, Dean of Order. 2 and a white, legendary human cleric, 1/3. Other tapped creatures you control get +1/+0, and other untapped creatures you control get +0/+1. Whenever you attack, untap each creature you control, then tap any number of creatures you control. So that ability triggers whenever you attack, and you get to manipulate your board to have anybody tapped or untapped however you want. This is presumably to take advantage of the +1/+0 combinations on, power or toughness, but I suspect we would most want to use this in a Boros deck with lots of activated abilities to get extra untaps, to tap again, to do more shenanigans. That's how I assume you would brew this.
Kind of exciting to see untapping, this types of thing happening in Boros, actually, because
right,
generally that's like a blue thing. Oh, here comes a siren of some kind.
Oh, a student was found using a hot plate in the dorm, which is illegal.
Cops have been called. Okay, let's move on to the next one here. We have Black's Vexing Pest.
Blex and Plarg.
Blacks. Yeah, the names, they are running out of names. Plarg, Blacks. This just sounds like sounds like noises you make when you barf. Yeah. Okay, Black's Vexing Pest is 2 and a green for the legendary pest, 3/2. Interesting that there is now a new creature type here, pest. Other pests, bats, insects, snakes, and spiders you control get +1/+1. When Black's dies, you gain 4 life. So we've got a bit of a lord here. We've got a pest lord. And I suppose you can kind of infer from this that bats, insects, snakes, and spiders are also pests, although that might not be true everywhere. On the back, we have a black sorcery, 2 black, search for Blacks. Hey, guess what? I found him. He's on the other side of this card. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. You can put any number of them into your hand. And the rest of your graveyard, you lose 3 life for each card you put into your hand this way. So a little bit of a Sylvan Library type of effect. I mean, we're seeing some like these kind of pseudo, really powerful old cards getting kind of like weird versions. What was the one we said before? There was one that was like, I don't know.
I've already forgotten.
Yeah, there was something else. Anyways, this one's Sylvan Library. I kind of like this because it's kind of draw 5, but you don't have to draw the lands if you don't want to, if you don't want to lose the life. But if you're in something that's getting some life, like you can kind of pay for this. It's a nice little thing to have in your command zone, right?
Yeah, and I think it's neat that that's a sorcery. Like you don't have to make a pest tribal deck. I can't imagine. I'm not one to love tribal decks to begin with, but I think it's fine to brew a cool Golgari reanimate type of deck and just have this sorcery in your hand the entire game. Whenever you want to draw more cards, put more cards in your graveyard, there you go. Just costs you 2 more every time.
Yeah, not bad. I kind of like this, and if you are so inclined, you can pick 1 or more of the pests and make have a little pest lord.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool.
Okay, who's up next? We have Kian, Dean of Substance. This is green and blue. So on the front, Kian is green. She's 2 and a green for a legendary elf druid, 2/2. Tap, exile the top card of your library. If it's a land, put it in your hand. Otherwise, put a study counter on it. Okay. 4 and a green, no taps, just pay for it. Create a 0/0 green and blue fractal creature token and put a +1/+1 counter on it for each different mana value among non-land cards you own in exile with study counters on them. Okay, so if Kian does her ability and we hit a land, great. If not, it goes in with a study counter. So now I pay 5 to make 1/1 fractals. We tend to run commander decks with like lower on the curve side if possible. So I can't imagine you're going to get more than 3 or 4 mana values in there. So that's a lot for a 4/4. But the back also does something similar as usual. Imbraham, Dean of Theory, 2 blue, bird wizard, 3/3 with flying. X blue, tap. Exile the top X cards of your library and put a study counter on each of them. So similar to the front puts them one at a time for free, just to tap. The back puts them on a bunch at a time in a big cost. Then you may put a card you own in exile with a study counter on it into your hand. So Imbraham can fetch up the cards that, what's her face, Kian put into exile.
And vice versa, right?
Yeah,
like she sees all the stuff he puts in it too. So
this
nice.
is another example where I feel like I want both of them out at once, and because of the nature of Commander, one of them costs 3, one of them costs 4, but that's not true because whatever one you pay for first, the other one will cost 2 more probably when you have to cast them, and you don't get to flip back and forth very often before you're out of mana.
The blue ones of these have that advantage though, where we can like bounce them back, right? And then we can just cast them for normal. I guess you could say the black ones, maybe you can sacrifice them or something and get them back. But I still think that's probably not the most reliable way to do it. But the blue ones, to me, that seems like they have got a little bit of an advantage there.
Well, I'd have to check the rules, but wouldn't the white ones always return to their front? Like, isn't flickering a simple way to turn a back to a front and one that has white?
For sure, yeah, good call. And blue has some of those abilities too, so blue can flicker as well. So that's kind of a little bit. There's a little bit advantage. Another advantage there for blue. Here we go.
Blue having an advantage.
But I like this guy because so Imbraham is this cool ability where like we can kind of dig through time a little bit, right? Blue X. So then we like obviously we're not delving this X, but we're paying for it. So you do like. You hit a big ability with Imbraham. Now we've got like 5 or something cards with these study counters. We get one of them, so that's pretty sweet. Going forward, if you just have Imbraham, can't you just pay blue, tap, and just get one of the ones that's already in?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's kind of nice. If you hit another good one, or you just do the thing where now we switch over to Kian, and now we can pump out maybe 4 4s, 3 3s with this ability.
I'm not excited to spend 5 on a 3/3 or 4/4 token.
Yeah, 5's a lot.
I'm going to be honest.
No, it's it is a lot. However, +1/+1 counter synergies usually work out pretty well when they're being stacked up on stuff. So there's lots of ways that actually can double up pretty easily or whatever. Yeah, what have you, right? Depending on what you have on the board. So.
I feel like most of these, I get to make a Simic deck, and most of the time this is always going to be Imbraham. I don't think I'm going to cast the green side very often, but it's an I don't hate having the option.
Maybe Imbraham digs and finds you your combo for infinite mana, and then you key in, and then you just make all the tokens.
Okay. I mean, just do it a different way.
hey, both cards are in your command zone, right?
That's true.
Okay, what's next here? Oh, this is Extus. This is the card we just did.
Last week. Yeah.
So we won't go too deep into Extus Oracle Overlord, the 1 white, black human warlock. That's a 2/4 double strike with Magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, return target non-legendary creature card from your graveyard to your hand. We won't go too deep into him, but we will read his ability, and that's the front of him. So cast some instant sorceries, copy them or whatever. But this is another sorcery on the back. It's a black-red sorcery. Awaken the Blood Avatar. 6 black-red. Sorcery, it says, as an additional cost to cast a spell, you may sacrifice any number of creatures. The spell costs 2 generic less to cast for each creature sacrificed this way. And each opponent, now the sorcery effect is each opponent sacrifices a creature. Create a 3/6 black and red avatar creature token with haste, and whenever this creature attacks, it deals 3 damage to each opponent. So what we did last week was we made basically infinite mana, kind of, and then we just cast this a billion times, and we made but you don't need a million. These 3/6 black and red avatar creature tokens with haste, and when they attack, they also deal 3 damage. Like, that gets pretty ugly pretty quickly. So very fun card. Cool new Mardu commander. Both sides are totally viable when it comes to commander like deck building. So have fun with this one.
Yeah, it's the only 3-color commander from the set.
Oh, interesting. All right.
Yeah, listen to our episode to get the full scoop on that deck. So who's next that we are going to talk about for fresh? Oh, it's Kian, Ink Duelist. Black-white, legendary human warlock, 2/2 with lifelink and menace. No other side to this. The back says Magic the Gathering. Regular back.
Deckmaster.
So simple, cheap, lifelink menace commander with the static ability that says spells you cast that target a creature cost 2 generic less to cast. Okay, great. Makes removal spells that target opponents stuff cheaper. It makes protection spells that cover your team also cheaper. Great.
Pretty cool. Like, maybe feels more like a 99 one to me, but a good effect if you got a lot of targeted removal and stuff like that.
Auras also target, yeah. So that makes them cheaper. Yeah.
Cool stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shadrix Silver Quills, another white-black legendary. Elder Dragon. So this is the other thing. We got a bunch of Elder Dragons in this set. It's a 2/5. It has flying and double strike, and it says at the beginning of combat on your turn, you may choose 2. Each mode must target a different player. And the 3 modes are: target player creates a 2/1 white and black inkling creature token with flying. Target player draws a card and loses a life. And target player puts a +1/+1 counter on each creature they control. So that's pretty good.
I don't love giving my opponents any of those.
No, I don't. I think it's going to be situational, obviously. If they have no creatures, sure, take all the counters you want.
You're right. That's the easy choice.
I feel like if you have a friend that you're trying to help out, you're going to let them draw cards, or you're going to let them get a creature to block or something like that. If you're the arch enemy, kind of, maybe the creature is the least effective one, but obviously that's going to be dependent on what's happening in the game. I like it. Anything that involves commander politics, I love. So
yeah,
I like it. I think it's well costed and everything too.
Yeah, that's cool. I think that's cool too.
And you I think, we're likely to take the card draw and the +1/+1 counter just to make Shadrix really big too. So that's fun.
Yeah.
All right.
Flying double strikes, right? So when we make Shadrix bigger, like,
yeah,
you only that's a lot of commander damage.
Like on the first attack, he could become a 3/6 double strike. Not bad.
At the beginning of combat, right? So that's even before you declare attacks. Like,
yeah,
you don't have to attack with Shadrix. Oh yeah, this is interesting. I like the potential there.
Definitely.
Next up is an Izzet commander, Galazeth Prismari. Another Elder Dragon. 2 red, blue, legendary creature, Elder Dragon, 3/4 with flying. Odd that it's 3/4 with flying. I'm sure that's a design choice because a lot of cards in the set refer to having the same power and toughness. So maybe they wanted this to not count. Anyway, just feels weird to me. So 2 red, blue, flying, 3/4. When Galazeth Prismari enters the battlefield, create a treasure token. Okay, so you get 1 mana back, so you sort of spent 3 on it. Artifacts you control have tap, add 1 mana of any color. Spend this mana only to cast an instant or sorcery spell. Well. That treasure doesn't have to sack itself to cast instants or sorceries. I like it.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. Yeah. Treasures.
Oh, I'm happy to
just lands for an instant sorcery deck now. That's pretty wild.
Yeah. Not just that, but do you have any equipment that also taps for? Because equipment doesn't take care of its tapped or untapped. This card's cool.
this card's powerful, I think, too.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
think
It's
about
mythic.
all those big instant and sorcery spells. Think about like an epic experiment type of a thing.
Ooh.
Like, that's just gonna being able to, play things that make treasures. First of all, is gonna work really well already in that type of a deck. But yeah, like you said, there's a bunch of other applications for this too. This is pretty fun.
Ooh. Yeah.
I like it. Combining two like archetypes and finding where they cross over with like artifacts, instants, and sorceries. It's a challenge, but it's fun when you can make it work.
Yeah.
Next we have Rutha. Another is it one here? Rutha. Ruth. I guess just naming her Ruth would have been like my Aunt Ruth,
That's what I'm calling her.
So Aunt Ruth, I really do have I
Ruth.
really do have an Aunt Ruth too. Hi Aunt Ruth. Hi Aunt Ruth. Here you are. Aunt Ruth, Mercurial Artist, 1 blue-red, legendary orc shaman, 1/4. You pay 2 generic to return Aunt Ruth to its owner's hand. Copy target instant or sorcery spell you control. You may choose new targets. All right, so we bounce her back to our hand, and then we can so basically like pay an extra 2 to copy an instant or sorcery, and then you have to replay her.
I hate this card.
Why? Why you hate?
I mean,
why
I
you
don't
hating on
hate it.
Aunt Ruth?
I don't like hate it, but like, well, okay. So having, in terms of a commander, having an ability to put a commander back in your hand at instant speed by ping 2 is useful, right? The only problem is you want to do that to protect your commander because it's doing something cool. Well, Rutha isn't doing something cool unless you're returning her to your hand. So there's no point in that for saving the commander. And it only is spells you control. So I've already spent the mana. Now I have to spend an extra 2. Now I have to spend an extra 3 later to get my commander back on the battlefield to do anything with it future. Like, this card is kind of does nothing to further the deck that is all about copying and casting spells' game plan.
Is there a way to like cheat her back out, or?
I'm sure there is, but by that point, I'd rather just run Galazeth. Every day of the
I'm running
week.
Galazeth all day for sure. So yeah, I mean, it's an uncommon commander. It's one of the uncommon. So the power level's a little lower there, but
yes,
be interesting to see if there's anything like that we could do with Rutha that makes her a little better than she seems off the top here. I'd be on the lookout for that.
Okay.
What's next?
Ooh, Beladros Witherbloom, 5 black green, legendary elder dragon. That's 7 mana for a flying 4/4. At the beginning of each upkeep, create a 1/1 black and green pest creature token with, when this creature dies, you gain 1 life. That's what all pests have. Also, this is the cool part. Pay 10 life. Untap all lands you control.
Wow.
Activate only once each turn. So you can't get infinite mana because you can only do this once each turn, but you can do it each turn. So if you can bank a ton of life, you can untap on other players' turns as well for casting major instants.
You can also
I'm a fan.
do weird stuff like sacrifice him and bring him back. Then you can do it again. Right? You can also do stuff like bounce him and bring it. I mean, I know he's black-green, but like anything that can get it back to our hand or anything like that, blink him. I know those aren't the colors for this, but like that's the ceiling on this guy is like pretty broken. And
Well, I haven't looked, but I'm sure there must exist an artifact that you can just put mana into to gain life, like as an ability.
Well, right off the top of my head, I can journey to, what's it called? I know that it's the black green from Ixalan, yeah, and it flips into a land, right, when the thing dies,
right,
and the land is like pay 5 and tap it and bring a creature back from the graveyard. So Beladros untaps them all, pay 10 life, sack this guy. Now all of a sudden you bring him back and you can sack everything and you can tap it and do it again. I'm sure there's some, I mean, you're paying 10 life, so we got to have a way to also gain 10 life in there somewhere. But it seems like it is quite a broken ability. I'm sure there's ways to make it all happen.
There must be.
But very cool. I like that. That's what you think of when you see it. When you see it, like that's what an elder dragon should inspire in you. Is like I can break the game with this card. This card is incredible. It's 7 mana.
Yes.
It's, I wouldn't have minded a slightly larger body for an Elder Dragon, but that's the way we're doing Elder Dragons these days. They're not all 7/7s,
Right.
which is fine by me.
Right. It's a slap in the face to the history of our
Yes,
game.
it is. Yeah.
Whatever.
Next, we have another Golgari card. It's Dina, Soul Steeper. It seems like she's making a nice little cup of tea there.
Ruth, Dina, they love hanging out.
Shout outs to our pal Lauren Ash from Superstore, Dina on that show. Legendary creature, Dryad, Druid, 1/3. Whenever you gain life, each opponent loses a life. I like that. And pay 1 generic to sack another creature, and Dina gets +X+O until end of turn, where X is the sacrificed creature's power. This feels really good to me for an uncommon commander. Like, this is like if you had some kind of if we're looking to build a super budget deck and we want our commander to be nice and low. Obviously, the uncommon commanders are great for that, and I like the synergy that she provides here. We're sacking creatures, feels very Golgari. Gaining life, they're losing life. Like, you can really build around kind of both sides at once, or just one, whatever you want to do. I like this card.
Well, and it sort of doubles up your aristocrats, because they lose 1, you gain 1, and they lose another 1. So like and having a sack outlet, like she's your sack outlet too. So I was like, that seems like a very budget, very effective deck.
And she's only 2 mana. Like, that's nice for a commander that can then pay 1 to sacrifice some giant monster that we're gonna do shenanigans with, and she gets like +6, and all of a sudden she's coming at you for 7 power. I like it.
Oh, so I got distracted looking for artifacts for that commander that lets you untap lands.
Oh, really?
You're gonna want to run Tower of Eons. It's a 4 mana artifact, and it has the ability 8 tap, gain 10 life. So as long as you got more than 8 lands out there, you're profiting mana.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's an infinite combo there with some other stuff. Here we go. We have another Boros commander coming up here.
Ooh, this is hufflery ghostforge. 3 red, white. Legendary dwarf cleric 4/5. Spirits you control get +1/+1 and have trample and haste. Okay, spirit, tribal, and Boros. I would not have predicted, but okay. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, exile it. If you do, create a token that's a copy of that creature, except it's a spirit in addition to its other types, and it has, when this creature leaves the battlefield, return the exiled card to your graveyard. Oh ho ho. So this isn't even spirit tribal. This is just do stuff. This is value in Boros, because you're going to have a non-token creature that presumably has an ETB or an effect that you can use. Maybe it brings in the token or something like that. You're going to figure out a way to sack it. It'll immediately come back into play as a token copy that is a spirit. Now it has +1/+1 trample and haste, so you can attack with it that turn. And if it dies in combat, who cares? You've got a couple ETBs, and it comes back to your hand. No, back to the graveyard. So it just takes a quick detour as a spirit before it finally hits the graveyard. What a cool narrative.
I know,
and what a great thing for a Boros deck to have.
The flavor of this is really great. The mechanic, I think I love too. So it has that thing on like old Magic where it's like something cool is going to happen, but the price you pay is that the card will be exiled after forever. So it's like, exile a thing from your graveyard, you get a copy of it, a token copy of it or something. Those things are still, I think, really good in Commander most of the time. Something like Unearth or whatever. But we tend to not think they're as good because we can't, they're not going to be able to can't recur them a lot. This has this cool thing where we pay that cost of like, okay, it's not in our graveyard, so we can't do anything else with it. But, we do get the spirit ability. But then after, it does go back. So I love that. I think that's awesome. And it does make sense. It's like, yeah, you're not fully dead until your spirit's gone.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Very cool.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
Cool. Very cool. I want to do like a Hidetsugu or something, like half everyone's life, kill it, it comes back as a spirit, half everyone's life again.
That sounds great.
That seems fun.
Yeah, there's so much. This is like if there's a black card that does something very similar to this, right? Like there's a from, was it War of the Spark, maybe? The one where like you sacrifice it and then you get a token copy of it.
Oh, Yes, the Nightmare Shepherd.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, yeah. So very similar. Cool. Next, we have another Boros one. This is the uncommon. It's a Quintorius, Field Historian. Three red, white for the legendary Elephant Cleric. Are they not like Loxodon,
right?
Is that not what we were
calling? Or are those
them?
tied to a region?
Are those also... Okay. Yeah, no, those are elephants too. Those are elephants. That's interesting.
But are the Loxodon from a specific plane? Like, is that why this is not a Loxodon?
I don't know. That must be. Maybe he could be Loxodon, and that's just... But I thought it was Loxodon as the creature type, but it's not. So, okay. Elephant Cleric checks out. Spirits you control get +1/+0, so another spirit thing. Quintorius is a 2/4 also. And whenever one or more cards leave your graveyard, create a 3/2 red and white spirit creature token. So I get it. I see what's happening here, Wizards of the Coast. We said, can Boros please do other things? Can we beef up Boros a little bit? And you said, we hear you loud and clear. We'll just give it Black's abilities. No problem. That's what we'll do. We'll make it care about ghosts and graveyards, and we're going to make tokens when we exile things, and those tokens are going to be better than zombies and all this stuff. Like, we're making 4/2s when that happens. And like, yeah, the Black ability that would do something similar to this makes 2/2s. So
yeah.
Okay. I mean, I'm still into it because there's still that flavor that red white brings to it that's different from black, so I'm into it.
I'm into it too. Okay. Who's next? We have Velomachus Lorehold. Another Elder Dragon, the Lorehold one. 5 red, white, 5/5, flying, vigilance, haste. A lot of abilities. Whenever Velomachus Lorehold attacks, look at the top 7 cards of your library. You may cast an instant or sorcery spell with mana value less than or equal to Velomachus Lorehold's power from among them without paying its mana cost. Put the rest on the bottom in a random order. So it's got haste. So you pay 7, you attack. Naturally a 5/5. So you're going to look at 5 and cast a free instant or sorcery that costs 5.
No, you look at the top 7 and then you can cast one that's 5 or less.
That's 5 or less. Unless you have equipment, then you're looking at a ton. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, again, finding a balance between, do we want to pump him? Is 5 enough? 5 feels pretty good, honestly. Like you might build a deck that doesn't even care about pumping him and just let it go for the 5, right?
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. I like that. It is interesting to have this, like, okay, Boros cares about spirits. Okay, Boros cares about artifacts. Okay, Boros cares about instants and sorceries, I guess. So
right, they're dipping into everyone's colors.
In the ones like over Magic's history, that makes sense. But like in the set, I'm kind of surprised to see like kind of 3 different things come into play here.
Agreed.
Next, we've got Tanazir Quandrix, 3 green, blue, 4/4 legendary Elder Dragon. This is the Simic one, obviously. It's got flying and trample. It says when it enters the battlefield, double the number of +1/+1 counters on target creature you control. And whenever it attacks, you may have the base power and toughness of other creatures you control become equal to Tanazir Quandrix's power and toughness until end of turn. Okay. Wow, this is kind of weird because so when it ETBs, you double counters on something you control, just some other thing. It's so funny that
you don't put any counters.
No, you just double. And then when it attacks, we basically make everything a 4/4. Obviously, if we didn't pump it or something. So everything's base power toughness becomes a 4/4. So ideally, that creature with now a bunch of counters on it is 4 bigger. I don't know. This isn't like really inspiring me. Like I guess it's cool that the base power toughness is more. I know it works well with the fractal tokens that they're making in this set. But otherwise,
it's hard in Simic to like impress. Simic has gotten so many dirty commanders that it's true. Like we're doubling is no joke. So
true.
I feel like the real plan is to make Tanazir enormous so that when you're attacking, everybody becomes a base power 11/11 or something like that.
Even just having everything, I mean, that's true. If we're dealing with lower power stuff, good, maybe decent for like an elves deck. Very good for like a Hydra's deck. With all those 0/0 Hydras that get counters. So there's definitely some application for this guy.
Yeah. All right, another Simic commander. This is Zimone Quandrix Prodigy. Green blue, legendary human wizard, 1/2. 1 tap, you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped. Great. I love that. 4 tap, draw a card. If you control 8 or more lands, draw 2 cards instead. Okay. This is fine.
Yeah. Just some cool value on a 2-mana 1/2 in your command zone. Not bad. Like if you're looking to it's almost like you just play like Simic good stuff, and Zimone's a great commander for that. I love this art.
Yeah.
There's something about this art that's just so well done. Like the way the glow is on her glasses.
Yes.
And like her like dress with the shards on it. It just looks very cool to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. Ryan Plain Coast? Plain Coast?
The text is so tiny.
Pan Coast. There it is written right there. Yeah, cool art. Next. Oh, and finally, actually, we have...
Oh, yeah. One more.
Cody Vociferous Codex. Keep an eye out for this one next week.
Yeah, we're not going to go too deep because we're going to do a deck tech on it next week.
That's right. But we will read it for you. Cody Vociferous Codex is 3 generic for a legendary artifact creature. It's a construct. It's a 1/4. Can't cast permanent spells. Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Fair enough. But then there's a lot of text here. So pay 4 and tap. Add Wooburg. So 5 mana, 1 of each color. When you cast your next spell this turn, could be any spell, obviously not a permanent, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile an instant or sorcery card with lesser mana value. Until end of turn, you may cast that card without paying its mana cost. Put each other card exiled this way on the bottom of your library in a random order. So it gives just instants and sorceries Cascade, sort of. Basically, it's exactly Cascade, right? Am I right about that? Like... as far as
subtle differences, it can be.
No, it's not equal.
It has to be
less, yeah.
But the big difference is you can cast it until end of turn, so you can wait on it.
Okay, so that's interesting. So yeah, just being able to pay 4 and tap and then make 5. Obviously, that nets you mana. So right away, you're like, oh, I can go infinite with this if I just have a way to untap it, basically, right? Like that's. If it's a free way to untap it, for example, free repeatable way. So that's going to get people going. Like I said, we're not going to get too deep into it because we do have a whole deck tech coming next week. But keep an eye out for that because we kind of, and the Lost Cards is going to be good because there's a bunch of different weird things you can do with Cody and a lot of fun stuff. So yeah, keep an eye out. We will not be casting permanents, or will we? I'll just say that. Okay.
That's it. Those are the commanders. That's the bulk of the episode. As promised, we're gonna keep this short. We're gonna highlight a few cards that we think are super cool from the set that we want to try out in commander decks. That's
right. So we'll get to these right now. So let's do it. First is Body of Research. Green, 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 blue, blue, blue for the sorcery. It's weird. There's a little cycle that are kind of like the
ultimatums.
Yeah, like they're kind of like ultimatums in the way that they're costed and stuff. So which I'm all about. So this one obviously 6 mana value here. Create a 0/0 green and blue fractal creature token. Put X +1/+1 counters on it, where X is the number of cards in your library.
Yes.
The most annoying part about this card is you have to count all the cards in your library.
Yeah.
And or the cards that are not in your library and subtract. But yeah, that's a 6 mana for like a 70 or something. Like it's massive.
If we're going to assume that all of our libraries are equal, if I have an Altar of Dementia, my 77, if you also have 70 cards in your library, I'm going to sack this and you're going to mill 70. So this is it.
This card is wild. This card is crazy. Yeah. There's all kinds of crazy stuff. Moving the counters at some point, like
oh boy,
like any of the creatures that move the counters if it dies or something like that. So look out.
I mean, if you could just protect it and give it trample, you're talking about
true.
This is the biggest, dumbest 6 mana creature ever made.
Yes, it is. It is totally the biggest and dumbest. Unbelievable.
Fun. The size is. Here's another fun one. It's of the same cycle. We can assume this is 1 black, green. Harness Infinity. Instant. Exchange your hand and graveyard. Exile Harness Infinity. Okay, I'm in.
Yep.
I don't know what I'm gonna do with this yet, but I want to do it.
It's funny because what's the card from not Mirrodin Besiege, but the other one, the
what's it do?
The Phyrexian New Phyrexia. It gives you your graveyard in your hand, and you have no maximum hand size. It's like that card. I think costs 8. I think 7 or 8, something like that. So it's a very, very similar card. Better because but just the fact that this can exchange. It's also way easier to cast. But Harness Infinity. We don't see cards like this very often, so it is pretty exciting to dump as much stuff into your graveyard as possible, and then just smash it all into your hand and see what you can do.
Cool. I love it.
And it's an instant, which is really good because you're going to do this, obviously, after you have hit the discard phase.
Yeah.
Very cool. Rushed Rebirth is a smaller one, just a black and a green for an instant. Choose target creature. When that creature dies this turn, search your library for a creature card with lesser mana value. Put it onto the battlefield, tapped, shuffle. So we've got kind of a reverse like birthing pod situation here. We can do this ourselves with some sack outlets, or, if someone was targeting something good, well, replace it with something that's perhaps just as good.
Yeah, I think it's very useful. I think Golgari decks would want one for sure.
Definitely, yep.
This is fascinating too. This is an amazing Boros card. They've given Boros so many cool tools. Mm-hmm. 2 red, white sorcery. It's called Reconstruct History. Return up to 1 target artifact card, up to 1 target enchantment card, up to 1 target instant card, up to 1 target sorcery card, and up to 1 target planeswalker card from your graveyard to your hand. Everything but a creature. Bring back one of everything except a creature from your graveyard to your hand. That's sort of, it's not literally, but this is kind of draw 5.
Yeah.
You got to have all the things in there. This is always a draw 3 or draw 4, but usually if it's in our graveyard, especially in a Boros deck, it's because we've already gotten use out of it, so we'll happily get some more use out of it.
Yeah, so I'd say on average you're going to get 3, 2 or 3, obviously, and then if you're running Planeswalkers, great, but if you're not really, it's still very worth it to just try and get 4 out of this.
I like it.
It reminds me of the green one that gets you 1 of every CMC back. Seasons Past.
Seasons Past.
Yeah. Good card for sure. Augmenter Pugilist is 1 green for a troll druid with trample. As long as you control 8 or more lands, it gets +5/+5. So it's an 8/8 trample for 3. And actually, it's an MDFC. And on the back, we have a blue sorcery called Echoing Equation. 3 blue for a sorcery that says, choose target creature you control. Each other creature you control becomes a copy of it until end of turn. And except those creatures aren't legendary if the chosen creature is legendary. I love the stuff they're doing with blue where they're messing with that things aren't legendary and we can make a bunch of legendary copies. I just love it so much. This is a card that I think is just very, very fun in Commander. It's like a dual colored card, but really we're going to be counting. We only care about the blue side of this, obviously.
They made cards legendary because they thought it would be too powerful if you had a bunch of them. So usually it's like, well, you can only have 1. So, but here is like, no, you know what? How many tokens do you have? 7? Have 7 legendaries.
Yeah, very Brutaclad-like effect here, which is great.
Yeah, I love it. Let's move on to Ecological Appreciation. This is X2 green sorcery. So basically 3 + X. Search your library and graveyard for up to 4 creature cards with different names that each have mana value X or less, and reveal them. An opponent chooses 2, shuffle the chosen ones in your library, and put the rest onto the battlefield. Exile Ecological Appreciation. So you always get up to 4. All right, so you can't cheat the way you're shuffling them in. So if you only pick 2, your opponents will pick the 2 and they will get shuffled in. So you'll get nothing.
No.
You have to pick 4 different things, but in a commander deck, all the 4 I'm going to choose are going to be good for me and bad for you. So enjoy.
Yeah, the fact that you get to choose obviously is there's gonna be something crazy. We've seen cards like this before, and it's never good for your opponents, especially if like you and your other opponents, one of them maybe are behind in the game, and you can get something that will definitely help everyone except for the person in the lead. That kind of thing, obviously, kind of goes without saying. So yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. A little politics to that as well.
Yeah.
Another Simic card here, Double Major, is just a green-blue for an instant that says copy target creature spell you control, except it isn't legendary if the spell is legendary. So another one of these things. This one, a little more situational. Has to be on the stack. We have to control it. And, but yeah, I mean, you can do this with your commander, which is awesome.
Pretty neat.
Yeah. Pay the tax the first time and just get 2 of your commanders. Why not?
I'll take it.
Yeah.
How about Ifrit Flame Painter, 3 and a red for an Ifrit Shaman creature, 1/4 with double strike. I feel I read that in a weird order. It's a 4 mana 1/4 with double strike.
Right.
Whenever Ifrit Flame Painter deals combat damage to a player, you may cast target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard without paying its mana cost. If that spell would be put into its graveyard, exile it instead. I think the key here is that it has double strike, so you're going to get 2 when it deals combat damage. So you'll get 2 free spells from your own graveyard if this has a free attack, or if you can give it unblockable in some way. I'm a big fan of 2 free spells.
And unlike there's some other similar cards to this, it doesn't matter how big those spells are. This is just the crazy biggest spell in your graveyard you get to do with this 1/4. Like power doesn't matter or anything like that. So that's pretty sweet.
Maybe I'm in like a Jund deck and I'm going to flip my graveyard in hand after this. So.
Totally right. Exactly. Or I'm going to cast a 6/6. Or I'm going to cast a 6 mana spell for my graveyard that's the size of my library in Teamwork.
Right.
Unbelievable. That's the other thing about that spell. It's a sorcery. We can, it's very easy to copy those. Okay. Next we have Strixhaven Stadium. 3 mana for an artifact. Tap to add colorless mana. Put a point counter on Strixhaven Stadium. Whenever a creature deals combat damage to you, remove a point counter from Strixhaven Stadium. And whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to an opponent, put a point counter on Strixhaven Stadium. Then if it has 10 or more, you remove them all, and that player loses the game. So it's all about hitting the person, right? So like we tap, we put them all on, but this thing of removing them all only happens if we hit an opponent.
Yes. Right. Yes. We have to do it. So we can put them on just by tapping.
Yeah.
But we put one on each time a creature deals combat damage. Mm-hmm. So if we hit with 10 tokens, that's a win right there. We have eliminated them right away.
Yeah, it's a loss for them. We don't necessarily win right away, but yes.
That's true.
It's kind of like a weird infect almost.
Yeah, it's weird.
Like everyone gets 1 poison, like poison 1 or something.
But they can take away poison by hitting you back.
Yeah.
But you remove all of them, right? Yep. So I can build up my counters off of one player and then do the 10th on another player and be like, sorry, did you know you were playing this game with me?
Yeah, did you know you were in the stadium? Did you know that? So this is an interesting card. It's really, like you said, like people being able to attack you back to like remove the quote poison counters, right? That's a real thing, obviously. This is going to draw a lot of heat. But where I love this is in a deck where you want to be attacked.
Ooh,
or obviously in something like a Go deck or something with maybe our boy Cardor gets a Strixhaven Stadium, and now all of a sudden people are attacking each other. They can't come at you. They can't come at the old stadium, So like, or maybe even just throwing this in a Darien, right? Where it's like, I got to hit this guy or he's going to kill me with his tokens. But if I hit him, he makes more tokens, right? So this is a very fun and interesting card. Now, how easy is it going to be to just drop this and swing and kill someone? Is that going to be too easy? I don't think so, because you do hit 10 creatures have to get through. That's not nothing. If you're already hitting with 10 creatures, you might already be in control of the game. You know what I mean? So
sure. The beauty though is it's the standard 3 mana colorless mana rock, right? We can do much better in Commander, obviously.
Sure, yeah.
But that's worth it for something this interesting.
Yeah, I agree.
Like unless you're in a meta where this just simply will not do. Like it's like you're getting like, even if you never get to really do the game thing, that's still a useful card that just helps whatever you're doing. I would love to give this to someone else in a Zedru deck. It's a risky move, but just to see how does that change the dynamics of things.
And then everyone just goes, okay, fine, only attack the person that gave it to you. And they're like, okay. Because then they lose the stadium.
They lose the stadium, yeah. I mean,
like I would make a deal with the person who you gave it to just be like, okay, how about this? I won't attack you for the rest of the game. If you just try and kill him with a stadium, then we're all happy. And then, you know, try and make that move. But anyways, just one more card we wanted to mention, and really ties up the whole pest thing. Tend
the Pests. Black green instant. As an additional cost, sack a creature. I like that. I like a sack instant. Create X 1/1 black and green pest creature tokens with, when this creature dies, you gain 1 life, where X is the sacrifice creature's power. All right. That could be a ton of pests. And you know, I always like to think about like cards that work as like wrath protection. If I'm in a sack deck, I would love to turn 1 creature into 8 creatures. That's an excellent thing to have in a sack deck. But I also like the idea that it's like, well, if you wrath me, I have the option. I was like, okay, well, remember that 70-70 thing that I made from that sorcery? Now it's 70 pests, and now I'm going to gain 70 life. It's like, okay.
Yeah, right? That's what I thought of too. It should tell you something that almost every example where we thought of something, a way to break one of these cards is like, let's just use harness.
Body of research.
Body of research every time.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe it's a, what's it called? Anyways, Sultai. It was a Sultai deck. It uses body of research. Blah, blah, blah. Anyways, okay. Well, that's it. That is everything now, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's all we wanted to talk about. We will have, next time we're coming back at you, it will be deck tech on Cody, the new 5-color commander. Yeah.
So come on back for that. Come on back for Cody. Stick around because, you know, Lost cards are coming out on Thursday, so that's going to be lots of fun after those decks. And check, stay tuned. We got lots of stuff happening. Commander Night live games are going up on YouTube now, and so you can check out some live action as well. Thanks for watching this one, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. If you love what we're doing, consider supporting the show by going to patreon.com/commandersbrew.
And if you want to get any of the cards from our deck list, go to our TCG Player affiliate link below.
That helps us out too, and for a free way to help us out, consider sharing the show with some friends. Like and subscribe, add a comment or two.
See you later.
Bye.